All right, everybody, so this is a little bit of a different video on this channel. It's vlog style, but I wanted to show you that today we use this. It is Hindash's new palette, and I was a little bit intimidated by it because it seems like such a pro palette. So I asked my friend and makeup artist, Nikki to come in and show me how to create more of like a basic kind of neutrals look that I like to go for with my makeup look. So she came in, showed me how to get this, and we're about to show you how she did it using this. All right, so first let's talk about the colors. Each of these pans actually has more than one color in it, and I think that's why it feels a little bit intimidating for me, is because this feels like it's truly an artist's palette. If you follow Hindash, you know that he's an artist, so he thinks this way. You know, he sees his makeup and his subjects as, you know, art, and it's one of the reasons why his looks are so beautiful. So I feel like he really took that approach with this palette specifically. So this is tan plus lines. And then this is wet plus paint. This is boy plus wonder, feel plus real, love plus kills, and intra plus fatum. So you can see these first two pans are more like the neutral colors that you use. And then as you go down, you've got some of like the kind of like blush type colors, and then, you know, your neutrals here. But then you go down further and you get into some really like bold, intense type of colors. So it's a really cool palette, and I'm excited to see how it's gonna look on my face.
So you can see Susan has her base on. She's got her foundation and a little bit of bronzer, and first her brows. So now I'm gonna go in with Susan's base, and I'm gonna use probably wet and paint for her base color. So I'm starting with these two neutral light colors, and this is gonna help to set the base that I put on Susan's eyelid first. I put a little bit of foundation and a teeny bit of concealer just to kind of brighten that area and use that as our base. So now I'm gonna set the base with these two colors. So normally I'd use like a universal setting powder to set Susan's concealer base that I use for her eyeshadow. But in this case, I'm just gonna use this color instead, which is for her skin tone is like the perfect color just to kind of seal that base. Using the same fluffy brush, I'm gonna dip into tan. This is a beautiful neutral, almost like a skin tone. And this is gonna be Susan's transitional color into her crease. I'm starting on the outer corner of her crease, and I'm building that color gently inward. And I'm just buffing that color out. And the color tan in the palette is pretty much the exact color I would always gravitate towards when starting Susan's eye makeup look, because it's so neutral and it gives me that perfect base to apply any other shadows on top. So now I'm taking that same tan color and I'm reapplying it in the inner corner of her eye, almost bring it down the bridge of her nose as well. And that's gonna help to kind of carve out her eye shape and really elongate her eyes. The great thing about this palette too is you'll notice there's a little bit of dust and fallout on the actual palette, but there's no fallout on Susan's face, and as an artist that is so, so important, especially when you're doing a foundation first and then going into eye makeup. That's like crucial. Using the same brush, which I consider a nice primed brush, primed meaning it has lots of shadow on it, so it's ready to kind of go in. I'm gonna dip into Feel, a medium neutral brown, top off the excess. So I'm using this color to just add more depth to Susan's outer corner of her eye and kind of give her like that, almost like a soft cat eye shape. Now I'm taking a small flat, almost like a shading brush, and I'm gonna dip into Paint. I'm really loading that color onto this flat shadow brush. I'm using this color to press onto Susan's eyelid, just to brighten her eyelid and kind of carve out her crease just really naturally. So I'm really patting this color onto her eyelid. I'm not swiping it and blending it too much because I want it in a very specific spot, and that's directly on her eyelid.
So why would you use a brush versus your finger? I'm always curious about that because sometimes I know you use your finger.
So I'll use my fingertip for shimmery shadows. For matte shadows, you really need to go in with a brush because they're not going to go on smooth. Going back to our medium brown shade, Feel, I'm taking a small liner brush. I'm going to use this color to softly line Susan's eyes. So you'll notice I'm laying it flat. I'm pressing it into Susan's lash line, creating a really, really thin, delicate liner, and then dragging it out. So dipping back into Feel one more time with the same liner brush. Now I'm going to create Susan's wing. Just very gently dragging that liner brush outward, and then we'll build on that wing. So this is a great base for creating a strong wing. It's great for like mapping out your wing liner, or just leaving it like this and keep it nice and natural in daytime. Same liner brush. Now we're gonna go in and just intensify her eyeliner just a tad by using Intra. So you can see I'm very gently patting this into her lash line just to deepen the outer portion of her wing. And that's just gonna create more depth too. without being too smoky, it's gonna create some depth on her lash line. I'm gonna go back into tan with another small flat shading brush. And we're gonna use the two colors we have on her eyelid to bring on her bottom lash line to really bring together the eye look. Same brush, now we're gonna dip into Feel, focusing this color on the outer portion of her eye and just lightly connecting it to her top wing liner. Okay, so now I'm going back to that original primed blending brush that you can see has a ton of eyeshadow on it already, and I'm gonna dip back into Tan and Feel, tap off the excess, and then I'm gonna take my fingers, I'm gonna pinch that brush to make it smaller, but still like fluffy. And this is gonna give me way more control when I'm using this obviously large brush for such a small area, which is her under eye. So now I'm gonna take a little bit more concealer and I'm gonna touch up under Susan's eye. We already have her concealer on, as you can see. I'm just gonna touch it up very lightly, make sure there's no creases. So now I'm gonna just buff out any creases that might have happened. Once this is done, I'm gonna go in and tightline her lash line, pop some lashes on her and some mascara, and then we're gonna go on to blush. So we're gonna use a mix of Boy and Wonder for her blush. I'm gonna dip into Boy first because you can see it's a little bit lighter. Tap off the excess, smile. I'm just gonna start by tapping that onto the top of her cheekbones and then bringing it up towards her temple. So now dipping a teeny bit into Wonder. I'm just deepening her blush just a tad, almost underneath her cheekbone. Using what's left over on her blush brush, I'm just going to take that and just gently tap it on the bridge of her nose. I love doing this. I always do this with Susan's blushes. It just gives you a whole cohesive look.
I feel like it's a youthful thing. It gives you that youthful glow. Just finishing her look with a little bit of highlighter for some glow, and then she's going to be done. Setting her with our favorite setting spray. You turn me on to this, and then she's done. So that is my final makeup look. I always love when I can't see what's happening because then it's like this big surprise for me. This is the first time I have Hindash's palette on my face, and it's on my eyes, it's on my cheeks, there's a little bit of highlighter over that, but it is so pretty. I feel like I'm much more prepared to use it on my own now that Nikki showed me how to use it. I'm excited to, play around with all of it. Something that Nikki was pointing out to me is that it's almost like 3 colors in each of the pans, because at first it looks like it's just 2 colors, but you can see that there's like a transition shade right in the center of each of the pans. So you're really getting 3 different colors in each of those pans. So it's a really versatile makeup palette. I feel like there are endless looks that you can create with it. I know that Hindash is creating different looks with it on his YouTube channel as well, but I'm definitely inspired to give it a shot. It's fun because we obviously did like this very natural looking makeup look, but I feel like you can also just take it to an extreme look as well. So it's a fun, versatile palette, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think of it too.